Hey guys, what's going on? Tarian here. Today I've got something very special to bring to you all. I'm here with Ornj, the lead developer here on SWG Restoration, and today he's going to answer some questions regarding the upcoming patch. A lot of great changes coming in. We've got profession reworks, we've got new heroic jewelry, we've got new heroics, just all sorts of great stuff on the way, and he's going to answer some questions we have about that. Ornj, you want to say hey?
Hello. Yeah, I'm Ornj. I've been lead developer now for several months, been on the project for a couple of years, but yeah, we've been working really hard on this update to all things combat really for a while, and it's it's a lot. It's going to make the game feel insane for a little bit, but I'm really excited, and so yeah, I just wanted to have the opportunity to chat it over and answer any big questions or worries that people might have, or just get excited together.
Heck yeah, man. And I know I'm very excited for this patch, and I'm sure plenty of other people are. So, the first thing I want to kind of ask is what really provoked and kind of made you guys, feel like you wanted to rework some of the combat stuff? Like, what was some of your thought processes, like, early on, kind of with the creation of, the profession reworks?
Yeah, so a lot of this was inspired by our original founder, Halo, who had come back into more active role in the project a few months ago. And he actually, one of the main reasons that we thought this would be a good move to look at professions generally, we already knew that we were going to be doing heroic jewelry soon, and Ranger was coming. All those things were already going to like completely change the show. But another factor was that CU is actually just like hopefully right around the corner. They've been working on it for a while, and a and like Restoration has always been like CU inspired, and we love this combat upgrade, and we want it to feel like the combat upgrade, but we were never going to be perfectly combat upgrade because there's too many new items, too many new stats, too many new whatevers. And so we decided that it would be an interesting experiment, at least. Like this all started out very experimental. We thought it would be a cool way to see if we could kind of combat a little bit more, make it feel. The big thing we got excited by was just making professions feel more like feel more immersive and dedicated to a specific play style. Because yeah, like in a skill tree game like this, it does. There's so much flexibility that a lot of times people, a lot of the builds just kind of converge a little bit, and everybody has this line and everyone has that line and stuff. So, like, we just thought it would be really interesting to shake up the meta, give professions a better feel, and also just like unshackle us a little bit from being so tied to pure CU skill trees, pure CU skills, because CU EMI is going to be here and they're going to do a better job at it. Like I'm excited to see how that goes. But for people that are going to want the pure CU experience, there's going to be another server for that. And for people who want a pure NGE experience, there's also a better server for that. So we're trying to just make the best version of all of those things as opposed to staying pure to one specific era. And so it's, yeah, that was the main drive. And so we started it pretty experimentally, showed it to players. Players seemed to get excited. So we're just like, all right, let's do it.
So, a lot more like innovation rather than replication of like stuff from the past, yeah?
Yeah, like obviously it's really fun to do combat, to build combat systems, to test it, and come up with crazy ideas and stuff. So that's obviously a big part of it, and we like doing that. So this was a big fun project for us. But but yeah, also about moving past a little bit the very constrained inspiring mechanics, and we like still tried to stay true and like even lean into a lot more things. Like knockdown is, a very pre-CU, CU kind of thing that's definitely not present in NGE, because in a lot of ways it feels pretty bad. But we're like, we want to make this work. We're going to try and make this still an important factor in combat in a way that's like kind of balanced, but also kind of impactful. So stuff like that. Like it's not vanilla, but it's trying to stay true to that spirit while just like making it more fun in our view.
Cool. Okay, I like that. I like that answer. I like the way you explained that. I know I'm really excited for that, and I think that sort of different approach is something that people are excited about. I did have another question. So something I was wondering about personally is, what is sort of your design philosophy in regards to the new heroic jewelry? Like when you guys were working on those, like what did that look like, and how did you guys approach that?
I got to work on heroic jewelry mostly by myself, and I just like crawled into a cave and came out a few weeks later with just like a crazy list of ideas and things. And I mean, the big goal to be, I've made this joke, but it's kind of not even really a joke. My goal with heroic jewelry was to make a bunch of that would make people question what I was thinking when I put this into the game. Like, is this going to break the game? Is this going to ruin everything? Why are you doing this, Ornj? I thought that would be that was my overall approach, and the reason I do that literally is just because this is exactly what I find most fun about games, especially like this. Games where you can kind of build your own setup, card games like Trying to Break the Game, MMOs, RPGs, all these things. Like, for what's fun for me and what I think is fun for a lot of people is finding things that just seem way too good, and this is totally going to get nerfed at some time, but I'm going to outsmart everybody, and I'm going to do this combination of things. And I love things like that. I think that they are like, earlier this year I put out kind of like my overall game design philosophies or whatever, like how I'm thinking about restoration and moving things forward. And I put fun over balance. And as the person who also ruthlessly balances the game and nerfs things and buffs things like without abandon, I also see I see that that's not always the most fun thing. And so I made a goal for myself to make a lot of jewelry sets that all just kind of felt like they were breaking the game, and then try and make them work together. And I mean, I think we definitely succeeded in the first part. We'll see how we succeed in the second part.
So, my follow up question to that is, in regards to the different choices between the jewelry sets, what are like, how do you? Because I know that there's like multiple jewelry sets for different professions. Like, how do you see the different jewelry sets for each profession? Like, are they supposed to, make professions fall into different play styles, or what's that look like? Or is it supposed to be more like defining specific roles?
It's, I would say, mostly defining play style, or like leaning into play styles. Like that was my overall goal, was not necessarily to think about combat roles, but to like think of different types of players. Like there's players that love to tank and debuff your opponents and kind of have an attrition style. And there's people who love spike damage, and there's people who like staying in the back of a fight. There's people who love getting them in front of the fight. Those were what I tried to kind of design things around. Like, we could talk about the commando sets, for example. Those sets kind of started out in a little bit of a boring way, where like one was a little bit tanky and one was like about grenades, and it was just seemed like a straightforward way of doing that. But it evolved into the position secured set, which I think is called Rampart, and which is like hyper immobile, right? Like it's a super stand fast that like puts you down on the ground, it forces you to kneel, but it gives you a huge defense debuff or defense buff and devastation procs, and makes your dots tick up twice as fast. So it's like a really cool, like it feels very position secured, where you're just like stomping on the ground and securing a position, but like you are obviously not going to be mobile. So it's really strong in PvE, and it has to be used very carefully in PvP, but it probably has huge payoff when it does work. And so like that's a playstyle. Like some people just love going up front and just like, face tanking a lot of stuff, and but also just blowing people up, and also, actually being able to actually have a benefit in like pushing forward and helping your group get to a certain choke point or whatever, right? Whereas the other set, Juggernaut, is more mobility focused, and it's one of its gimmicks is actually about literally like if you get snared, you get a big defense debuff, and so that's like more about kind of moving around, and when you do get stuck, you get to have a big defense debuff, and you get a bunch of grenade procs, cluster bomb. So it's like you're running around and you're throwing grenades, and you're probably trying to be a bit more, line of sighty or whatever, versus the position secured set, which is like all immobile. So I just
Right.
thought like those are two different types of people. Obviously, a lot of things just require certain play styles, but
Mhm.
I like leading into just like how I think people would like to play.
Right. Okay. So my next question is also in regards to like combat professions and whatnot, but it's more I guess what I wanted to ask is, what is your approach to Jedi in this upcoming patch? Because we've talked a lot about like the heroic jewelry sets, and at least from my perspective, in regards to like non-Jedi characters, non-Force sensitive characters. But what can we expect to see coming with the Jedi in this upcoming patch?
So Jedi has definitely gone through a lot of different changes, and my overall approach was still to try and make them more balanced, but more fair, and still like strong in very unique ways. So the overall idea was really just like, actually, I mean, yeah, I wrote about it in the recent blog post. It's the original conceit of Jedi was like, Jedi is every combat role. Like every combat role is represented on just a couple of skill trees, and they just have like all of the normie abilities except better. And that was very clearly not the way to go. It wasn't really my intention, but it definitely turned out that way. And so the like, in a lot of ways that feels very Star Wars. It feels very cool. Like everyone wants to be a Jedi. You don't want to be a Jedi, but a lot of people want to be a Jedi. And um and like obviously Jedi are all about like being the hero, or being super strong. So it feels good in a way to just feel like getting a Jedi is a big upgrade. But obviously you just have to balance that with how other people feel that don't have a Jedi, new players, people who don't want to be Jedi. Like So what I the approach I decided to take instead was keeping them strong in every area of the combat diamond, and in fact making it easier to fill multiple roles in the combat diamond, like tanking, crowd control, healing, whatever. But to cap them at like the same level as a normie in all of those areas. I don't even think it's necessarily at that point yet, but that's kind of where I'm driving.
Okay.
Just so that like basically a Jedi would be, you can think of a Jedi as like a master doctor, master squad leader, master commando, master sniper, right? Right. Like it has way more access to a lot of powerful abilities as opposed to just like being a super super doctor, super commando, whatever.
Right.
So you're just getting more, you're getting more, the ability to fill more combat roles, but hopefully not in a way that just completely negates other players.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll still therefore be strong. Like, of course, if any normie could be, master 4 or 5 different professions, I'm sure they would love to do that.
Yeah, and they'd be pretty strong.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know there's all sorts of like new changes coming with combat, and I'll probably come back and ask you more about that later. But in regards to some non-combat changes, what are some non-combat related changes we can see coming in this upcoming patch?
There's a ton. There's a ton of non-combat related stuff coming, and so much of it has like not even really come out.
Mm-hmm.
And like we started to tease it with the recent blog post, but yeah, and like the combat changes and heroics and all that stuff is like obviously getting the most testing attention because it's how most people are going to experience all of the changes. But yeah, we have a lot of other cool things coming. Some of which I still am actually not allowed to share. Like,
mm-hmm.
We have a big marketing push coming, and we're trying to save a lot of it for
Okay.
that. But yeah, of the things that we've talked about a little bit, obviously the main one is species. Species are coming in this update. 5 new species that are fully customizable, and they've got a ton of customization sliders. Like Nautilin has various forms of tentacles that you can have on your head. Deveronians have a bunch of different horns, and you can kind of drag them up and down your head, and different sizes and even different styles. Like I think we have one that like has the horn kind of cut off.
Okay.
Stuff like that. Just tons of different ways to customize those types of characters, skin color, whatever, all that stuff. And you'll be able to change your species as well, as opposed to just getting whatever you started with. So species and gender change are both things that are going to be available to everybody.
Awesome. Are you allowed to say like in what form, or just that we'll have some way to change that in the near future?
Yeah, no, it is going to be it's a process that you'll go through with an image designer, a master image designer who is already the ones that kind of mess with people's faces and such. Because after you change your species, you will need to actually change your face anyway. So we just thought that was a nice way to make those features kind of tie together and improve player economy, give image designers things to do, and so that'll just be there will be a location in game that people will go to to get the special nanites that they'll have to take, and which will transform their body into the new species and whatever else you need to change. And then yeah, the image designer will help you get you to your desired look.
Very cool. Okay. Awesome. I like involving image designers more. It's always good to see them get some more love that they don't get enough.
Yeah, for sure. We have a lot of other cool things that we want to do with image designer and entertainer classes in general, that we will probably be talking about soon. Aren't coming with this patch, but we're very excited about that. Like entertainer and really just that whole tree is like one of the cornerstones of this game that makes it Star Wars Galaxies, and so we really want to lean into that stuff more too.
Perfect.
Let me see. Is there anything else that I should tease? We do have two major new customization systems coming that are going to affect quite a lot, and I don't think I'm going to tease it more than that.
Okay. Okay.
They are. Yeah, I'm excited about them. One of them is like the most like one of them we went into it with the goal of making the most Star Wars Galaxy's ass feature that we could think of.
Okay.
Just like really leaning into like depth and complexity and customization. So yeah, I think we delivered that. Reverse engineering is involved in it. I'll say that.
Oh, very cool. Okay. Interesting. I'm looking forward to that for sure then. Always cool to see more stuff with the crafters. So I have another question. In regards to heroics, I know we're getting some new heroics in this upcoming patch. What can you tell us about these new heroics that we're getting?
So we're delivering the final 3 of the original 5 heroic encounters: Oxba Min, IG-88, and XR Kun. And these ended up being really fun, like trifecta of instances to do. We didn't really like think it all the way through when we were first like dividing up the heroics and having fun get them out. But like we ended up making like the 2 marathon runs, getting those out with Tusken King and Lost Star Destroyer being out a while ago, and then like Oxfa Min and IG-88 and XR Kun are. The thing I love about these, and I didn't appreciate even during live, is just like how well themed they are. It's very Oxfa Min and IG are kind of quickies, and there's not a lot of depth to them, but they still have a lot of good like flavor and story. And so when we were looking at those, we, a lot of it was of course just like balancing the combat for the different difficulties, but we also got pretty into the loot tables on these again, trying to add a lot of theming around like what kinds of things come out of it, and like just using that as a starting point for the like what would you actually expect to get out of this, and what game systems can we enhance with it. IG-88 is all about droids. Oxfa Min is all about Night Sisters. XR Kun is all about Jedi and Sith, right? So like you can definitely expect to see a lot of loot, new loot like cosmetics, weapons, all that sort of stuff in those categories coming out of those instances. And so there's so many new things being added, so many new like armor sets and all that stuff, new weapons that are coming with those.
Very cool. Are we gonna get some of the classic heroic items from these instances, such as like the dented droid head and such?
Yes, I'm pretty sure we kept everything that was already in there that hadn't already been kind of moved around.
Okay.
So yeah, dented droid head with the accidental debuff, that's definitely in there. Um, all of everyone's favorite like decorations are in there still. Um, and yeah, I'm trying to remember. I mean, like the XR Kun fresco, I remember was just like the big get when I was playing on live. Even
Hmm.
though it's just a decoration item, it was really rare and like really cool looking. And yeah, stuff like that. Like that's in there, but also a lot of new stuff.
Very cool. Okay. Um, in regards to the, because I know the jewelry sets are gonna cost the tokens from the heroics. Can you give us any insight as to like how hard these are gonna be to get?
Yeah, they're gonna just have the same prices as they did on live, which is to say, like, uh, each piece will cost. I want to say it's like 4 of one token, and then like 1 of 3 others, something like that. And so, like overall, it's I think 30 tokens for a piece of jewelry, but like it's realistically, obviously this is kind of hardcore, but like if you ran all 5 instances in a week, you'd basically every day for a week, then you'd basically have enough for a jewelry set.
Hmm.
And the jewelry sets are going to be tradable as well, so hopefully people will be able to get them. Even new players of the server that don't want to do the heroics can still do the just like make money and buy one or whatever.
Right.
Or like you can lend them out to your friends, right? That's the other big thing. And so, and it's obviously needed too because there's a couple entertainer and crafter sets that are being added as well. That those people probably aren't going to be in many heroic runs themselves, but they'll be able to pick up sets. In the case of like the artisan sets, they're very much like an investment. Like you spend a lot of money and then now you are better at crafting or reverse engineering. And the entertainer sets are just a little bit of fun. They'll make you a little bit better at or quicker at buffing. We're not like raising the 20 point at buff or anything like that, but uh, yeah, those are just kind of about fun and efficiency.
Very cool. So my next question, I've got so many questions I could ask, but I want to get through some of these important ones. GCW, is there anything GCW related coming in this patch or in the near future that you are at liberty to talk about?
This is not a heavy GCW patch. Um, I figured there would be quite a lot of uh, interesting new things in PvP just from all the profession changes in heroic jewelry. But yeah, we do still have. I mean, there's still a lot that we want to do with GCW, and uh, just because this is like one of the biggest temples of the game that we've like changed, and it has a lot of upsides and a lot of downsides, and so there's just always a lot to improve with it. Restif is coming soon. It's not coming in this patch. It was kind of lined up to it, but we just had some kind of things coming up with staff members that made that get pushed back a little bit. Restis is going to be. We have a lot of really interesting new. Well, we have one big new mechanic that's coming with Restis that's going to make it into its own kind of dedicated game mode. I'll kind of leave it there just because we want to do a bigger reveal of that later. But Restis, like it's still going to be Restis. It's still going to be a big PvP zone. We want to make it feel really good as a group PvP zone because there's just, especially in like post destruction Restis, there's a lot of iconic and toxic locations in there that just make group PvP really fun.
Right.
And it's also just like, one of the very few full-on PvP zone that like you go in the area and you're always flagged. So we want to lean into that a little bit with Restus, and then just like near-term GCW stuff as well. We'll be doing some things to help improve the feeling of like playing in bases or like fighting around bases during like the shield disrupting phase, and also trying to do some stuff to curb on the snowbally mechanics. One thing that we will do hopefully soon is be granting each faction kind of emergency powers that they can use if they don't have a general, which will allow them to elect a general, which will get all the same perks, but not the rank of general. So they will always be able to have somebody who can, coordinate the war effort and vote on planets to invade, and also somebody to, lead people in the field and have those like stronger buffs, legendary stuff like that. But they won't be able to, buy general rank items, and they won't get like the badge, stuff like that. So
Okay,
yeah.
Very cool. Interesting. I'm looking forward to that. That sounds like a really interesting mechanic. That probably would be very helpful into like containing some of the snowballiness of GCW.
Yeah, that is always like the curse of systems that reward people for doing well, is that then it just means that the people who have done well will stay doing really well because they're stronger.
Right.
So yeah, we're trying to find ways to improve that a little bit.
Very cool. Okay. So I've got one last question. And my question is there's obviously been a lot of testing done for this patch and a whole lot of community engagement to get this patch ready for launch. How do you feel going into the release of this patch? How do you feel about the state of the game going into it, and as we transition from this old combat system to this new one? How do you feel about things just as a whole for the game?
I feel kind of that like nervous, buzzy excitement, because I know that we are adding so many really fun mechanics that like tons of people have really enjoyed playing. I think that we have succeeded as much as possible in not taking things away from people, but just giving them more things, more toys, and just like putting really a lot of effort into almost every single profession in like making sure that it like makes sense and feels fun. And that's there's a lot of professions in this game, you might have heard. So like there was a lot to do there, but like I kind of saw early on that this was going to be a little bit of a crazy update as far as balance goes. That there's just going to be so many different new toys and ways to break the game. Some of it explicitly designed that way. But also, I mean, the whole picture was also doing all this at once allowed us to look at all these mechanics at the same time and make sure that there's enough counterplay and counterplay, and just ways for, if one playstyle gets super duper strong, there's another playstyle that should be able to like push back on that, right? So hopefully that keeps groups fresh, and it doesn't super quickly devolve into the most degenerate thing. But like it's also the skill tree unlocks, all these things just like sound so much fun to me, and I know that they are really fun to a lot of the people that have been testing them. Gotten a lot of feedback just like, I don't even want to play the live game anymore. I want to play the new combat update, because it's just, yeah, I think it's going to be a ton of fun, a balancing headache soon, but hopefully not too soon. like I think that there's just going to be so much fun and chaos in trying to figure out all these new toys and how they're going to work together and like what the best builds are
Hmm.
that I'm excited for. It's going to feel like a clean slate in a lot of ways where people are just going to be able to find the most fun things for themselves and try them out and get to try them out with a bunch of other people. So I'm yeah, I'm pretty hyped. Like I'm definitely I'm definitely aware that there's going to be, probably a couple of months of us just trying to figure out any other issues that are going to come up, any balance issues or overpowered things, and then
Hmm.
we'll also want to buff up the underpowered things. So at least a couple months of that, I'm sure. But like yeah, like I said, I think there's not much like Star Wars Galaxies in terms of just like the incredible flexibility you have in building your character. And now that we've added like so many new abilities and interactions to that mix, like
Hmm.
there's just nothing like it. I yeah, I can't wait.
Very cool. I'm super excited for it, and I know it's going to change the game. And I really appreciate you taking the time to answer my questions. Um, I guess I know I said last question was my last question, but I guess this is the last question. I don't know if you've announced this yet, but can you give us a timeline on when we can expect the patch? Are you allowed to say?
Not allowed to say, but it is sooner sooner than you would think.
Very cool.
Um, but yeah, we have a lot of uh, pieces moving on this release date, and we have an exclusivity agreement with an entity online that is getting it. They're the ones that get to release the 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 date of the patch, and so
Very cool.
yeah,
Well, awesome.
yeah, it's right around the corner. It'll be fun.
Well, I am going to be definitely waiting and looking forward to that. I honestly like. I want to just log on Test Center and just play more like PvP battlegrounds or battlefields and stuff with the new patch. Like I can't get enough of it. So those have been a blast. So I really hope we see more of that. But again, I appreciate you taking the time to answer my questions. I'm sure the people that watch this will also be thankful for the things you had to say. Is there anything you'd like to say to the people before I cut us off here?
I hope you have fun. Like we had a ton of fun building it. I think that this patch is a love letter to Star Wars in so many different ways, and I hope it feels that way. I hope that it comes across not as like change for the sake of change, but uh, instead just truly trying to take what we love and improve the things that we loved and make more of it, right? Like just make Star Wars Galaxies the most Star Wars Galaxies it could be from all the different eras. So I hope that a lot of people see that way and that they have a lot of fun with it because we had a lot of fun building it.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to cut us off here. For those of you that are watching this, I really appreciate you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe and check out the SWG website for any information regarding this patch. If you aren't playing, you better get on there. If you are playing, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the launch day of this patch when it does drop. As always, may the force be with you, and I hope you all have a good time.